You think ignoring us makes you brave. Look at me when I'm talking to you. Hey, she thinks she's better than us. 3 boys, all taller, loud, surrounded Aisha like they own the hallway. She stood alone, quiet, head down, holding her notebook like it was armor. They didn't scare her. They just didn't know that yet. The leader, Kyle, stepped closer, inches from her face. His breath smelled like soda and ego. What? Cat got your tongue. Aisha blinked, didn't speak. That only made them angrier. You're not special, said Jason, the second one, snatching her bag and tossing it behind him. You're just weird. You act like you're above everyone else. Maybe she's mute, laughed Ryan. Or dumb. Still nothing. Not a word from her. Kyle's voice dropped. You know you're just a charity case here, right? Everyone knows. Your daddy couldn't afford tuition, so they gave you a pity scholarship. That's the only reason you're walking these halls. Jason leaned in. And now you think you're something. Wearing that stupid black hoodie like it makes you cool. He flicked her hood off. That was a mistake. Aisha slowly looked up. Eyes steady. Not sad. Not scared. Just calm. And something else behind that calm. Something none of them noticed until it was too late. You should have left me alone, she said softly. Kyle laughed. Oh, she speaks now. That's what happened. Before Kyle could blink, her foot swept across his ankle. He fell sideways, hard, his back smacking the lockers. Jason lunged at her, but she pivoted, grabbed his wrist midair, and twisted it behind him. He dropped to his knees, face turning red from the pain. Ryan froze. Aisha let go. Jason collapsed to the floor. The entire hallway had stopped. No one said anything. Phones were up, recording, capturing. Kyle groaned. What the hell? Aisha looked down at him, still calm. You pushed me first. She picked up her notebook, brushed it off, and turned to walk away. She didn't run. She didn't gloat. Just walked. Ryan looked at the others, confused and stunned. She's a freaking ninja or something. That's when Zoya came running. Aisha, what happened? I just got out of practice and... She froze. Her sister. 3 boys on the floor. The phones. The silence. You did this? She whispered. Aisha handed her the drop bag. They asked the wrong questions. You're not even supposed to be fighting, Zoya said. Mom will kill us. I didn't fight, Aisha replied. I responded. Jason tried standing. She attacked us. Wrong, Aisha said without even looking back. I ended it. Just then, the assistant principal came around the corner. What is going on? She stopped. Her eyes scanned the scene. What happened here? The boys all started talking at once, stumbling over their own lies. Aisha stood silent again. But this time, Zoya stepped forward. I'll tell you what happened, she said. They thought she was weak. They were wrong. The principal looked at the girls, then the boys, then the students with their phones up. She didn't say a word. She just walked away, pulling out her phone. By evening, the video had over 80,000 views. Girl destroys bullies with ninja moves. Black belt? More like Black Queen. Respect the quiet ones. But the girls weren't celebrating. Zoya sat on the edge of her bed, legs bouncing. Why didn't you wait for me? I didn't need to, Aisha said, calmly folding her clothes. You always stay quiet, Zoya said. I didn't think you'd do that. I didn't plan it, Aisha replied. I was just tired. Tired of what? Of letting them think silence means weakness. Zoya nodded slowly. Well, now they know. You really showed them. Aisha looked away. I didn't want to. Zoya watched her closely. Then why did you? Aisha's voice cracked just a little. Because I was afraid of what might happen if I didn't. Zoya got quiet. For the first time, she saw that her strong, silent twin wasn't made of steel. She just hid the cracks better. The next day at school, people moved out of Aisha's way. Some smiled. Some stared. Most just whispered. She hated it. In the cafeteria, someone handed her an extra juice box and called her queen. A boy she didn't even know asked if she could teach him moves. She said no. When she sat beside Zoya, her sister whispered, You made the whole school shut up. That's power. But Aisha didn't feel powerful. She felt exposed. Later that day, a note appeared in her locker. No name, just 4 words. You think you're safe? She showed it to Zoya. Zoya crumpled it immediately. Cowards. Let them come. They don't know who they're messing with. But Aisha wasn't worried about her. She was worried about something else. Something quieter. Something deeper. The boys weren't finished. And this wasn't just about ego anymore. It was about revenge. And when it came back around, they'd learn the hard way. Karate doesn't just teach how to fight. It teaches when. She's got a sister. No way. They're both in karate. You mean we messed with the wrong twin? The video hadn't cooled off. By the time Aisha and Zoya reached school the next morning, it had crossed 1.2 million views. Every step they took echoed louder than usual. Not because of their shoes, because of the silence that followed them. Eyes stared, phones clicked, and whispers filled the air like smoke. Zoya's hands were clenched. Aisha's eyes were fixed ahead. Not because she didn't hear it all, but because she didn't want to let it in. They made it to homeroom before the intercom buzzed. Aisha and Zoya Williams, please report to the principal's office immediately. Zoya groaned. Here we go. Aisha stayed quiet. As they walked down the hall, a girl whispered too loudly, "Is it true the quiet one's the dangerous one?" Another laughed. Or maybe they both are. I bet their parents raised them like soldiers. Zoya spun around mid-step. Say that again. Aisha grabbed her wrist. Leave it. Zoya's jaw tightened, but she didn't speak again. They stepped into the office. 3 chairs were filled. Principal Lane, Counselor Harris, and Kyle's father, Mr. Rayner, who didn't even try hiding his glare. Sit, Lane said, motioning to the 2 empty seats. Zoya folded her arms. Are we being punished for defending ourselves? Lane sighed. Let's talk, before we jump to conclusions. We already had the conversation yesterday, Zoya snapped. You saw the video. Harris raised a hand. Zoya, please. This isn't just about what happened in the hallway. There's been backlash. Aisha raised her eyes slowly. Backlash. Lane looked uncomfortable. We've received multiple emails from parents concerned. They say their kids feel unsafe. Zoya laughed, sharp and loud. Unsafe from who? Us. From the potential of violence, Harris explained. They say the video shows aggression. You mean self-defense? Aisha corrected. Mr. Rayner cut in. My son was humiliated. What kind of school allows someone like that? Trained to fight, to walk around as if it's nothing. Zoya's tone was ice. You should be asking what kind of parent raises a boy to corner a girl. Lane cleared her throat. Look, we understand this is complicated. But for now, we're recommending the video be taken down. And perhaps an apology. Aisha blinked. An apology? For the sake of school harmony, Harris added quickly. Not because you were wrong, just to ease tensions. Zoya stood. We're not easing anyone's discomfort with lies. Aisha stood with her. We'll see ourselves out. They walked out heads high. Mr. Rayner's voice followed. You're making this worse for yourselves. Zoya didn't turn around. So be it. By lunchtime, the whispers turned sharp. A photo of their faces had been printed and taped to their lockers. Black marker slashed across their mouths. Underneath, black freaks, mutants, trained threats. Zoya ripped the papers down and threw them in the trash. No more, she said. Aisha was staring at something else. On her locker, someone had carved deep into the metal. Silence kills. She touched it. Just for a second. Zoya said, we're not quiet anymore. They walked straight to the office. I'd like to file a formal report, Zoya told the secretary. Harassment, vandalism, threats. Harris came out from the back, looking nervous. Girls, let's not escalate. You already did. Aisha interrupted. They filed it. Every word, every moment. The locker, the notes, the threats. Principal Lane promised to look into it. But as they walked home, Zoya shook her head. You know nothing's going to happen, right? Aisha nodded. Then we keep our own record. They spent the evening writing. Dates, incidents, screenshots, photos. Zoya created a private Google Drive titled, Proof They Started It. The next week brought more damage. Their gear bags were found slashed open in the gym. Belts cut, gloves missing. One note lay in the center. Let's see you fight without these. Zoya nearly cried. Aisha didn't. She sat down, picked up the torn belt, and started knotting it together again. What are you doing? Zoya asked. Practicing, Aisha said. We still train. With what? with what we've got. They practiced in silence that night. No dojo, just the living room. Each movement came sharper, quieter, focused not on form, but control. Zoya watched her sister's face. Calm, not cold, but something else. Steady, like a dam holding back something dangerous. I'm scared, Zoya whispered. I'm not, Aisha said. Zoya looked at her. You should be. On Friday, their coach called them in. Coach Evelyn was one of the few adults they trusted. She didn't ask questions. She just watched. I heard what's going on, she said. I also heard you're handling it better than most adults would. Aisha nodded. Zoya looked down. But if anyone tries to use your training against you, Coach continued, you tell them this. Karate teaches self-control, not silence. She handed Zoya a replacement belt, then one to Aisha. These are for my personal set. You've earned them. Zoya touched the fabric like it was something holy. Aisha held hers close. Thank you. Coach smiled. Now go show them what quiet power really looks like. That night, someone messaged Aisha anonymously. No name, no profile pic, just one sentence. We're not finished. She read it 3 times. Didn't respond, but she saved the screenshot. Zoya sat beside her, watching. What did they say? Aisha showed her. Zoya closed her eyes. They think this is a game. Aisha stared at the screen. No, she said. They think we're still standing still. Where's my bag? They took our gear. This was planned. They're trying to get us suspended. Zoya's voice cracked as she stood in the gym's empty locker room, staring at the busted lock on her bag. Her chest tightened. She ripped it open. Gloves gone. Uniform slashed. Even her mouthguard was missing. Aisha opened her locker beside her. Same thing. Cleaned out. Zoya looked around. You think someone did this just to scare us? No. Aisha said, calm as glass. They want us angry. And then it hit them. The gym door opened. Hey, shouted Coach Evelyn. She paused. Then her face changed. What happened? Zoya held up her shredded GI. You tell us. Coach stepped forward, eyes scanning everything. This wasn't random. Just then, footsteps pounded down the hallway. Mr. Kellen, the vice principal, burst in with 2 security guards. There they are, he said out of breath, caught in the act. Zoya blinked. What? Aisha stepped forward. Caught doing what? Security got an alert. Unauthorized locker activity. We traced it to your access codes, Kellen snapped. Coach Evelyn raised her hand. This is their locker. Still, he said, we need to talk. Now, they were marched into the office like criminals. Principal Lane didn't even look up from her file. Girls, we have a problem. Again, Zoya muttered. Lane slid over a printout. There were emails sent to Kyle, Marco, and Hunter from your school accounts, challenging them to settle this in the gym. Aisha stared at the paper. We didn't send that. Then how did it come from your usernames? Kellen asked. Zoya leaned forward. Ever heard of being hacked? Lane didn't flinch. This isn't just about the email. The gym's camera caught a fight between Marco and Devin in front of your lockers, right after the email. And let me guess, Aisha said, you think we started that too? Kellen clicked his pen. You were the only ones near the scene. Zoya almost laughed. You mean the scene we were set up in? Coach Evelyn spoke quietly from behind them. They've been targeted for weeks. That gear didn't slash itself. Lane tapped her pen twice. Regardless, the board is reviewing this. Expulsion is on the table. Aisha's voice was cold. So you're just going to ignore every attack we've reported? Lane didn't answer. Zoya stood. Then maybe we should show them what we haven't reported. Coach Evelyn's eyebrows rose slightly. Aisha opened her phone and pulled up the drive folder titled Proof They Started It. She clicked on a video, one from just 3 days ago. Clear footage of Devin carving into Aisha's locker. She clicked another. Marco dragging Zoya's bag into a corner. Photo. Message. Threat. Screenshot. It kept coming. Kellen looked paler with every second. Lane said nothing for a long time. Then, I'll need to review all this with the board. Do that, Aisha said, before we send it somewhere bigger. Zoya added, like the district or the news. They walked out without being told to. By lunch, things had changed. The hallway didn't go quiet when they passed anymore. It buzzed. Everyone had seen the gym footage. The supposed fight was just Marco and Devin yelling at each other and throwing punches nowhere near the twins, then stumbling against their lockers. Zoya and Aisha weren't even in the room. Someone whispered they really were set up. Another said, "Who'd go that far just to ruin them?" A third muttered they're scared. Because the girls don't fight, they win. Still, the tension didn't die. It only mutated. Now people weren't bullying. They were backing away. Fear, respect, suspicion. It was all mixed in the air. That evening, Aisha found something in her locker. Not a threat, not vandalism, just a folded note. No name, no signature. It said, "Next time we won't miss." She read it, then showed it to Zoya in silence. Her sister read it once, then tore it in half. "We train tonight," Zoya said. "No gear," Aisha reminded her. "We train anyway." They practiced barefoot, in the cold garage, the concrete bit at their heels. But they didn't stop. Every movement was sharper, every block more precise. Zoya's anger showed in her breathing, tight, fast, raw. Aisha was different, quiet, still, but her eyes never blinked during a strike. Coach Evelyn stopped by halfway through. She stood at the door, watching. "You two want to enter the state youth tournament next month?" she asked. Zoya paused mid-kick. "We might be expelled by then." "Not if this board meeting goes the way I think it will," Evelyn said. Aisha lowered her stance. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying," Coach continued, "you don't just have to survive this. You can own it. You show them you're not hiding, not folding, and you do it in front of a crowd." Zoya looked at Aisha. Aisha nodded. They kept training. The next day, the hearing happened. The board called it a review of conduct. The girls called it a final trap. Their parents came in, silent but steady. Aisha's mom had that fire in her jaw again. Zoya's dad had his arms folded like he was already done with the whole system. Lane tried to open with protocol, but Coach Evelyn beat her to it. "I'll speak first," she said. As their coach, she laid down the timeline. She presented the drive folder. She played the videos, one by one, clear, loud, undeniable. By the end, the room was quiet. Then Coach turned toward the board. "I've trained fighters for 20 years. I know the difference between a weapon and a target. These girls are being treated like the first when they've been the second all along." Lane swallowed. The board voted. Not guilty, not suspended, not expelled. Back at school, things weren't perfect. People still stared, still whispered, but the noise had changed tone. It wasn't mockery anymore. It was confusion, caution, even curiosity. And for the first time, Zoya didn't flinch under it. Aisha didn't walk faster. They walked normal. They walked like the storm hadn't passed, but they were learning to walk through it anyway. At the lockers, Zoya looked around. "Think it's over?" she asked. Aisha shook her head. "No." She pulled a crumpled note from her pocket. Another one that had shown up overnight. "See you at regionals." Zoya read it. Her jaw tightened. "They're entering the tournament." Aisha folded the note back up. "Let them." Zoya grinned. "They won't last 2 rounds. They're coming. Right now. In front of everyone. Good. Let them try." The loudspeaker buzzed. All students to the auditorium. Mandatory assembly. Zoya turned to Aisha. "You think they planned it for today?" "I think they want a crowd," Aisha answered. They walked in together. Row after row filled with restless teens. Teachers adjusting ties. Security guards posted at every exit. Parents had been invited for the award ceremony. It was supposed to be about celebrating excellence and honor. Instead, the storm walked in through the side door. Marco, Devin, Kyle. Hair slicked back, shirts untucked, grins painted across their faces like they already won. Zoya's voice stayed steady. "They're not here to talk." Aisha didn't blink. "They're here to finish what they started." But they weren't alone this time. Hundreds of people were watching. Phones were already out recording. The boys pushed through the crowd and stopped 5 feet in front of the twins. No words, just energy. Aggression wrapped in fake confidence. Devin smirked. "What now? Gonna cry?" Zoya didn't move. "No, but you might." The first punch was sloppy, wild and loud. Devin lunged with his whole body like a football tackle. He didn't land. Zoya shifted to the side, pivoted on one foot. Snap! Devin hit the floor, groaning, breathless. Gasps flew from the crowd. Phones zoomed in. Marco stepped forward next. He didn't swing. He shoved. Hard. Straight at Aisha's chest. She didn't fall. She didn't even step back. She hooked his wrist mid-motion, pulled him off balance, and flipped him. The air cracked as he landed flat on his back. Only Kyle was left. He froze, stared at his two friends on the floor. Zoya took one step forward. Calm. Steady. Kyle raised both hands. I'm good, he said, backing away. The gym went completely silent. Then, applause. Not just clapping. Cheering. A roar erupted from the auditorium as students stood. Teachers blinked, stunned. Even security didn't move. Coach Evelyn stood in the corner, arms crossed, smiling just barely. Principal Lane grabbed the mic. That's enough. Everyone stays seated. But it was too late. The moment had already lived. Zoya leaned down. Told you. You weren't ready. The aftermath was fast. The fight was all over social media within 10 minutes. The hashtags, hashtag Karate Twins, hashtag Real Champions, hashtag You Messed with the Wrong Sisters. The board called an emergency hearing. Again, this time, the girls didn't need defense. The footage spoke louder than any argument. 3 boys charged first. In public. With witnesses. With cameras. And still they failed. Zoya and Aisha hadn't attacked. They defended. Like champions. The board expelled Marco, Devin, and Kyle that same day. No ceremony. No second chances. They were done. And the twins? They weren't just cleared. They were honored. At the end-of-year banquet, Principal Lane walked up to the podium. Her voice shook slightly. This year, we saw not only academic excellence, but unshakable discipline under fire. 2 students showed us what grace looks like when tested. Please welcome Zoya and Aisha, state tournament qualifiers, straight A students, and examples of real strength. The applause felt like thunder. Zoya and Aisha walked up hand in hand. They didn't wave, didn't bow. They just stood, still, calm, proud. When a mic was passed to them, Zoya looked across the crowd and said, "We never asked for this." Aisha added, "But we never ran from it." Zoya continued, "People try to break us. First with words, then with lies, then with fists." Aisha's voice didn't waver. But the worst part wasn't their hate. It was the silence around it. Zoya nodded. Not anymore. They left the stage without waiting for applause. But it came anyway. After the banquet, they stood near the front doors. Coach Evelyn joined them, hands in her pockets. "You two know," she said, "you didn't just win a fight today." Zoya raised an eyebrow. "We know. You changed this place," Coach said. "They won't forget what they saw." Aisha looked up. "We didn't do it for them." Coach smiled. "That's exactly why it worked." Outside, a reporter waited. "Can I ask one question?" he said. Aisha paused. "Make it good. After everything you've been through, why didn't you strike first?" Zoya answered, "Because we're not what they called us. We're not violent," Aisha added. "We're trained." "Big difference," Zoya finished. 2 weeks later, they stepped onto a new mat. The State Youth Karate Championship. Different city, different crowd. But this time, they walked in without fear. They didn't have to prove anything. They just had to fight. And they did. Zoya's semifinal opponent was twice her size. Still, she took him down in under a minute. Aisha's last match went into overtime. A single-point difference. She landed the final kick with 3 seconds on the clock. When their names were called for the finals, they faced each other, sisters, rivals, teammates. They bowed, and then, for the first time since it all began, they smiled. Epilogue. 2 years later, the school put up a plaque near the gym to Zoya and Aisha for turning strength into peace. Students pass it every day. Some stop, some remember, but no one forgets.